showtime. Woo, woo. Woo, 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 woo. Silent and profiling. Woo, it's live and in color. Woo!
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report on the Buffalo Fan Base Network. I'm your host, Tommy, to the highest degree, to the TOP from the 313. And by my side is my main man, my toucan Sam, the one they call the Apex Man, Mr. Mikey. What's going on, brother?
Happy Monday, brother.
Happy Monday to you. And it is a damn good Monday because why, Mr. Mikey?
We got a special guest.
And what else?
We're first in the AFC.
Oh, that we are, my friend. And speaking of special guests, Joe Miller from Buffalo Rumblings. What's going on, Joe?
What's happening?
What is up, man? Glad to finally have you on, man. It's been a minute. I've been asking Joe for a minute. It's just our schedules do not always match up, and tonight they matched up, and he is here. Took a little while, but I appreciate you hopping on, brother.
Dude, it's just an honor to be here. It's just an honor to be asked, so to be invited.
That's awesome, and it's a great week, Joe, because there's a lot of great football that happened this weekend, and a lot of things the Bills needed bounced their way for the first time this year. I think
For the first time ever. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that had to go right this weekend, and they all went right.
It happened.
Except for my fantasy teams. They all took a dump on me.
Right. Which is super rare, by the way. Like Joe was saying, like things do not ever bounce Buffalo's way. Like we're like the worst. We have the worst luck. Like, and this season, by the way, has not been very kind to our Buffalo Bills. But Joe, I obviously everybody knows you, but
I doubt that. Not everybody.
For those few that don't. Tell us, first of all, a little bit about yourself and how you became a Buffalo Bills fan, and then what you're doing today, man.
Woof. Well, that's a very long, decorated story because I'm old. So I was born into this, and there were many times that I cursed my dad for indoctrinating me as a Buffalo Bills fan. My grandpa was a huge Bills fan. Season tickets. I'm actually buying into his season tickets even still now. At this point, I share them with my dad. They were originally my grandfather's, but I've been a Bills fan my whole entire life. So my first memories of the Buffalo Bills, Jerry Butler, Joe Cribbs. I was a part of the Jerry Butler fan club back in the day when I was in like the first or second grade, long time ago.
Joe is old. Damn.
Yeah, I'm very old.
I thought I was old.
Very old. I got into this as sort of a whim in 2019, this whole podcasting thing, just because I felt like my voice wasn't being heard. If everybody remembers, that's back when WGR was still saying that Josh Allen will never be a 60% quarterback, and having the Schatz guy from Football Outsider saying we've ran 1,000 simulations and none of them does the Bills go to the playoffs with Josh Allen. Like everything was just poo-pooing Josh Allen. And I wasn't necessarily high on Josh Allen. I just felt like there was a segment of the Mafia whose voices weren't being represented. And I was like, I'm going to just do this and be a fan. And if it connects with people, it does. And I got lucky and God gifted me with a decent voice. And I think it's more the voice even than my content. I think literally people have like, can you just narrate some like stuff? Just even the dictionary,
like a radio.
Send it to me. And then like, I can go to sleep at night. So I think it's more about, so I've done that for people like, and the sun set as I walked on the beach. Like I've done that stuff for people and sent them to them. So yeah.
You do sound like, by the way, a late night radio host, like an R&B.
My fun one is the R&B music. So like the Boys to Men, when like the bass dude comes in, he goes, girl, you know.
Yeah. The funny thing is Joe is actually one of the first that I started listening to. It was #sports and Joe. Joe kind of knows this because I used to always be in his comments.
Yeah,
And
not
then
anymore though. Now you're bigger than my show. See how you are, Mike?
No, stop that.
Oh,
Joe was one of the first though that used to actually take comments and read them to where I didn't have to pay him to do that. He just did it. It was one of those things that he incorporated, and it's actually part of the reason why me and Tommy have the show that we have now is because Joe, I felt the same way you did, where I felt like my voice always wasn't heard when I went to some of these bigger places. Although I love the content that they had, and I like what they do, I felt like they would say something. I'm like, no, that's not right, and then I would put something in the chat and just get ignored. I'm like, you know what? I need to do something. Hashtag Sports came aboard. They said, hey, I got a guy. Why don't you guys come on my show? We did it. Me and Tommy connected. And now we do this together. And now I bring everybody in. I'm like, you come here, you're gonna be part of the show. That's just the way it is. Because that's honestly, and that stems from you. You actually were the first person to do that with me.
Well, thank you.
You don't know it, but yeah. So I'm super excited you're here tonight.
I can honestly say there's a handful of loyal people that connected with my show early. You would be one of them. Pam Madonna, everybody knows Pam. There's a couple people that Clayton Garrett was one of them that was like super early. And I was just like, I was still listening back to my own shows 3 or 4 times, trying to figure out how I wanted to kind of dialogue and how I wanted to deliver just my shows. Because as you probably know, doing it with somebody is totally different than monologuing. Monologuing is it's an art. There's a measure of it being an art form, right? So
yes.
Yeah,
I'm not a solo guy at all. I am. I need that ping pong.
Right.
That's how I started solo. And hey, I'll tell you what though, I learned a lot going solo. It was good.
Dude.
It made it a lot easier once I got co-host, and obviously having a co-host is more fun. You can get more ideas together before your show. Like it's just a little bit back and forth or better. And then obviously when I first went, I had nobody in the chat either. So it was like I was talking to myself.
The wall. I started I didn't start on YouTube. I started recording just on my computer. So same thing. So there's an aspect of like people would ask me, people would be like, if you're going to give me some advice, what would you give me? It's like, pretend like you're talking to somebody, like literally you're having a conversation. Don't be afraid to pause. Don't be afraid to say, think about this for a second. Like, think about this. What would you do if blank? And then wait.
Right.
And let them think about it. Like, so there's a lot of
there's
stuff
a lot
like that.
to it.
Yeah.
But I'm the same with Mikey, by the way. I started off like watching Hashtag, and I was like, man, those guys, I don't know
good
why.
dudes.
They're awesome, Mario and Paul. And then I saw you, and I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. And then there was some I didn't like. I'm not gonna name names.
You're not gonna connect with everybody, and that's okay, right?
I mean, trust me. Right. I'm sure people come on me like, who's this guy with the glasses? Like a jerk. Like out of here. And I'm good with that. I'm all cool with
that.
You
cannot connect with somebody. That doesn't mean they're a jerk. I don't think they think you're a jerk. They
listen,
just,
I
don't know. If you listen to Tommy, you might think he's a jerk.
That's true. That's true. That is very true. I've been called worse, but
there are people out there that don't like my show. So, and that's fine. It's like Bruce Nolan is out there, Greg Thompson's out there, right? It's everybody. Like you guys are out there.
Same thing. Yep. Everybody has their cup of tea, right? Everybody likes their certain style, and it's all.
And
good,
we're
man.
blessed with that. We're blessed with the fact that the Bills Mafia has such a wide range of content creators because a lot of teams don't have that.
Right. And let's be, if we're being honest, let's just be honest for a second. And then you tell your friends and the people that love you the most that I'm on YouTube live 2 or 3 days a week. We've got like 3,000 subscribers and like 5,000 people when it's all said and done listen to my programs, and they never listen to us. The ones that love us the most, never watch our show. It's like it's live on Facebook. Like you're scrolling Facebook anyway. Just pull it up and listen to it in the background. And they don't ever. I had Drew Bledsoe on today. Dad, nothing, crickets.
No,
you interviewed Drew Bledsoe? Yeah, 3 months ago, Dad. You missed it.
Right. Ed, by the way, saying we're youngsters. He grew up in the Joe Ferguson era. All right, I grew up on the Joe Ferguson.
Well, so, technically, Joe Ferguson played with Joe Cribbs and
that's
Jerry
true.
Butler.
Oh, that's true. You see, so see, I grew up in the. I started watching '89. Joe.
Oh yeah, okay.
So the year before we made to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I'm from Florida initially. I'm in Detroit now, but grew up with Dolphin fans surrounding me. And my first sport ever was football, and it was on, and I'm like, who is this team? And they were so
Really?
exciting. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I got hooked, and then I couldn't stop. And then, of course, devastation for the next 4 seasons.
Yeah. I was in Florida during those years too, as a kid. So I was in high school, and same thing. So 89 would have been the Browns divisional loss, right? Divisional playoff loss. Yep.
Correct.
I remember where I was I think it was in the 9th grade. And I remember where I was for 10th grade, something like that. But yeah, I was in Florida as well. I was in Clearwater, and then I was in Orlando. So, yeah.
Okay. See, I was from South Florida, and I used to go to the Dolphin games with like my mom, who's a diehard Dolphin fan.
Yeah.
And I'd bring like a dolphin hanging from a rope. She was so embarrassed,
dude.
But I did not care.
Before the Dolphin games back then, I was in the 11th grade, and I took a white t-shirt and I bought a bunch of nail polish, and I made a like Merino Sucks t-shirt, like out of a white t-shirt with a 13, because nowadays it's like Circle the Wagons and like all like Buff on Weck and all Buffalo Go, like you can have t-shirts made for you, and it's like no, I made my own damn t-shirt, like, and I made it like it said Merino Sucks on the back, and I had like the 13 with the slash through it. And the football coach, I had gym class or weightlifting class or something, and the head coach of the football team like coached it or taught that class, whatever that means. And he was like, "I'm Dan Marino's friend. Take that shirt off." Like he was all mad at me. He's a big old boy. I was like, and I was tiny. I was like 5'10", awesome. 100 nothing. Yeah. So
yeah, mine was 90 is when I started watching. 90. I was in California.
Wow. Well, you're in Cali now, right?
Yeah. Born and raised here. It was actually the Super Bowl that got me hooked with the Bills. My stepdad was a diehard Redskins fan. My real dad is
you were birthed in pain. That's the game that brought you to
no,
Bills
I was
Mafia.
I was a 49ers fan originally, like when I watched it a little bit. But then they did Joe wrong, they did Ronnie Lott wrong, they did Roger Craig wrong, and I couldn't root for a team who would toss out their legends like that. I just couldn't do it. I started watching the Bills, and I rooted for him in the Super Bowl hard because my stepdad wanted the Washington Commanders.
Right.
Make sure I get that right.
We can call them the Redskins.
We're
all old guys, legacy guys.
And then the next year they went back, so I followed them all the next year, and then they lost again. And then I followed them the next year, and they were playing the Cowboys, who's my dad's favorite team. So I was rooting for them hard, and they lost again, and then they lost again. And then they started losing a lot, and I just never stopped loving them.
There you go. That's a nice way to put it. Started losing a lot,
and I never quit them. I fell in love with Kelly and Thomas and Reed and that defense, and just like it was hard not to fall in love with those guys. They were just so fun to watch.
Yep.
Even though they broke my heart into a million pieces through my entire life, they were so fun to watch.
Yes, they were. Super chat, Chewy Baca, my buddy Chewy. Question to all three of you guys. What is your key to this week's game? Go Bills. I guess we could talk about it real quick since you did the super chat. You were kind enough. I appreciate it, Chewy. I'll start with Joe, our guest.
You're going to give it to me?
Key? Yeah, why not? Let's start with the guest.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Mike White, right? So what are the Bills going to choose to, who are they going to let? You're going to beat us one way or the other. You're either going to beat us on the ground, or you're going to beat us through the air, and it's going to depend on, or try to, I should say. And then it's going to, what is their path to victory? Mike White is going to have an incredible football game, and this is a story that's already played once, right? Mike White had a phenomenal game. Was it one game? He came in, I think, one
and a quarter, and then he got hurt.
Came at the end of a game, and then had an amazing 400-yard game. And I don't think people were donning T-shirts at that point, but had an amazing game. And then the Bills basically gave him his lunch pail back, and was like, "Here you go, bro. You can take that home." So there's an aspect of that's my expectation for this football game as well. I don't think the Bills are going to let the Jets beat him on the ground. I think that they're going to try to force Mike White to beat him. Now, the one thing that concerns me is, there's reality in when it comes to playing football and this concept. I heard that, I don't remember what I was watching or where I heard it, that one of the things, they went back and watched the film, and Mike White against the Bills, they didn't say who he was playing. They just said in the last game that he played, he was trying to go too fast. So he slowed down and realized he had to let the plays develop and kind of let the game come to him. And that's why he's doing so much better now. And it's like, so I guess there's an aspect, we just watched Brock Purdy beat the Miami Dolphins. So anything is possible, right? On a Sunday.
That's damn real.
But at the end of the day, I expect the Bills to, shut down Mike White as much as they possibly can and do what they're going to do. And this is a game, for all intents and purposes, of Josh Allen. I mean, was last week a get right game? Probably. Does he have more in him? Probably, right?
Yeah. You want to go, Mikey? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and I truly think, to go off of what Joe just said, I think it comes down to Allen and keeping the turnovers low.
Yeah.
If we don't turn the ball over against that, they have a really stout defense. Let's be honest, that whole team is run by that defense. Right. They are really good. Yep. Mike White is average, I would say, and they don't need a lot with that offense. Garrett Wilson's good. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a problem for us for a lot of years. It's going to come down to what their quarterback does. But I don't think they could stay with us as long as Allen doesn't turn the ball over. I didn't watch that first game. I was on a plane, but I went back and I watched the highlights. And the reason why we lost is because Allen threw two horrible.
Wait. What? You watched the highlights. There was two. There were two highlights in that whole game.
Yeah.
The Diggs catch.
Okay.
The Diggs catch. And I don't remember what the other one was, but there was two.
Maybe I should call them highlights. I watched the recap of the game. I couldn't say
Allen run for a touchdown.
That was it. Yep.
But Allen threw two really bad red zone picks. And, at the end of the day, that's what's the difference in the ball game. If Allen doesn't turn the ball over, we win. I don't think the Jets can stay with us.
I agree. I would agree.
All right, so here's how I see it. I don't think Mike White. Listen, Mike White maybe is average. Listen,
I'm giving the guy credit.
He's only played.
He's done better than I ever could.
No, I get it. Well, but we're not a college quarterback into the NFL. However, listen, just like Heineke, right? Going to last, I still don't think Heineke is okay. I don't think Heineke is a franchise quarterback. He's a hell of a backup. I would love to have him on the Bills. Mike White, maybe the same thing, maybe even a step lower. I'll be honest with you, because listen, he's only played a couple of games. When the book's not out on you yet, sometimes, just like Purdy, right? Purdy came in. Dolphins really know what Purdy likes, what he doesn't like. It can happen. Those games can happen. A quarterback can surprise a team because the team's never played against you. Look good. Right? Look good for a couple games. Then once defense coordinators go, okay, all right, we know what this guy likes. We know what he doesn't. We see the film on him. Here's what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And we did that last year when the Mike White hype was all crazy. And we put him right back down to earth, right? And
I believe it's going to happen. It was 4, right?
Yeah. Four. And look, right back to the bench. You heard nothing about Mike White the rest of the season. The Mike White talk was done. Now, did he get a little better between then and now? Maybe, sure.
Did he get better, or did his weapons
how much
get better?
That too. He is a hell of a rookie receiver, no doubt. But here's the deal with the Jets. The Jets have a good defense. They keep them in the game, and that's the story of the Jets all season for the most part. Mike White's come in a couple games, fine. It's not going to happen against a good top-ranked defense, right? In Buffalo Bills. It's not going to happen. So the defense is going to have to keep them in the game for the Jets to even have a possibility of winning in this game. The last game we played against the Jets, you're right, 2 turnovers. 1 red zone and 1 terrible throw to Sauce Gardner, which I don't know what Allen was looking there on that play. However,
I still can't figure out what he saw.
I have no idea. But I don't expect that this game. I really don't. The way the last 3 games have been going, it looks like it's kind of going back to Dorsey wants to actually run the ball a little bit more, and which I believe we're going to do against the Jets. I do. I think the system that you see going now is going to continue. I think you're going to see 14 carries from Singletary, around that range, 10 carries or so from Cook. That seems to be the going thing the last 3 games. I have a feeling that's what they're going to do. I'm not saying Allen's not going to throw for 30 times. Probably is. That's what Allen does. But this is going to be, it's going to be a battle. No doubt about it. And it's going to come down to a couple things: turnovers and time of possession. Okay. I think the Bills control time of possession. Don't turn the ball over. They easily win this game. No doubt about it. They should have easily won the first game. Listen, they had a drive right there, red zone. That should have been a touchdown. Bad throw by Allen. And Allen admits it. He didn't see the coverage on Knox. It was just it was a good play by the defense. Bad throw by Allen. The second throw bad. And I think we're just, listen, Everybody knocking on Dorsey. I think Dorsey's starting to come around too. He's a first-year coordinator. I'm going to get that in a minute with Joe anyways. But that's my thing, Chewy. I think I think the keys of the game is just no turnovers this game. That's number one. And red zone work. That's it. And time of possession. We win this game.
So the same 3 that's been for the last 3 weeks. Red zone. Stop the run and stop the turnovers. You do that, you win ball games.
100%.
Tommy's gonna be a head coach in this league.
Right? I know, right? And then I'm gonna get fired.
Tommy would bench so many people so quick. You cannot we have a game day text thread.
Hey, I like Lawson, so you know Sundays. You see where
you don't want him anywhere near the sidelines during the games.
Right. I keep some of the guys that I like, and the fans would be booing me.
Nice.
Oh man.
Nice.
So real quick, Joe, expectations going into the season for the Buffalo Bills. War.
I mean, record. I mean, that's tough because I'm on record before the season, basically saying that this is a year that the Buffalo Bills could potentially go undefeated. And I wasn't saying they were going to go undefeated. I said when you look at their schedule, as difficult as it was, there were some good teams on it. There's nobody on that list that scared me as a Bills fan. Like the reality is they could beat every team on that list. Yeah. And I still think they could. I mean, when you look at the 3 losses they have, they lost to obviously the Dolphins, the Jets, and then the Vikings. They've lost by a combined point total spread of 8 points. And in every game they hurt themselves. So it wasn't even a situation where they were beaten. They beat the Dolphins up and down the field. They just didn't beat them on the scoreboard. Up and down the field and didn't beat them on the scoreboard. And you could largely pin that game on Van Roten and what a stupid move it was to take a backup guard who had never played center and play him as the center. 2 botch snaps, 2 botch snaps, the game's over. Right. So, I mean, and I could rant about that, but expectations going into the season, I mean, you had to believe that this offense was going to continue. This defense was going to get better. You liked the opportunity that Dorsey, I know we're going to talk about Dorsey a little bit, provided you, maybe you're going to get a guy that's a little more aggressive, maybe has a little better feel for, game situations than Daboll sometimes seemed like he lacked. But I would say the expectations were Super Bowl for sure, and they could beat anybody on the schedule.
Yeah, I was on board, by the way. So me and Mikey did like a off-season prediction, and I said undefeated. Prediction. A preseason prediction, and I did say honestly, and Mikey knows. Listen, I understand undefeated is very, very, very tough, guys. Unlike that, there is a reason why it hasn't happened since 1972. Okay,
right.
But I still looked at the schedule, just like Joe just said, and I said, you know what, man? Looking at the schedule, I feel like we could beat every single team on the schedule. I really do. This isn't, and that's not me being a homer or unrealistic. Okay. And just like Joe said, look at the 3 losses combined by 8 points. That's not a lot, guys. Look at last year's Buffalo Bills team. When we lost, most of the time we got our asses handed.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't good, right? So the Colts blew us out of the building. Right? The Jaguars, disgusting. We scored 6 points. I mean, so
the Jaguars are the anomaly for me. The Colts game and the Patriots game were coaching errors. They were coaching issues. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
100%. But I'm just saying the difference between last year and this year teams are night and day, in my opinion.
Can I just stop you and say that I'm glad that I'm not the only one that gets porn bots in my comment section. So
oh my god, dude, they come
only on it's somewhat our fault. It's always Spence and me. We get it on the Hump Day hotline. So that's where we always get it. They always end up on the Hump Day hotline.
And it's the one thing you say. I will always, friend you back unless you send that.
So yeah, right.
It's so annoying. I know. I'm like, oh, and it's funny because we're using StreamYard now, but we use Melon on our main platform, there is no a StreamYard. I could block them, like I just did. I could get them out, but Melon doesn't give me the option, so I have to go on to YouTube while we're live and kick him out on that way. This is
sorry, didn't mean to disrupt you. I was just relieved. So yes, I was relieved that it wasn't me. It's not like they're hunting me down.
They are. They're hunting. It's your opening, brother. It's your opening.
They really want us to go to that sex chat video or whatever's going on.
That's right.
But difference between last year and this year, I thought what we did in the offseason was night and day. We improved the D line. There was a lot that we did, right? We brought in a lot of good coaching staff. We brought in Aaron Cromer. I thought it was an upgrade, in my opinion, with Dorsey. I know a lot of people are going to get me slack on that, but listen, and I guess we'll dive right into Dorsey now since I'm on that train. I thought Dable, listen, at times Dable struggled too. I hated, I'll be honest, guys. I hated the Dable signing to begin with when Dable initially came here. I didn't say, and I'm not saying he did an awful job. He did. He actually did a good job. I didn't think he did a great job though. I thought there was times he really dropped the ball. I thought he was in-game adjustments were terrible. And if you look at this season, the knock that Dorsey's getting is the same knock that Dable is getting, and they're blaming it more on Dorsey. Oh, Bill's not running. That's been a problem. It's been a problem when Dorsey was here. I mean, when Dable was here, there's no difference.
It depends on where you're coming from, though. I don't know that everybody's complaining about them not running. I wanted to see them run less.
Running, right? Vanilla offense, I've heard. Right.
Dable's problem was he would just get situationally cute. It's the Bills at one point in time, halfway through the season last year, were number 1 in the league for like running the ball 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 9. And it's like, why? This isn't fooling anybody, and you can't do it. Stop. There was just weird anomalies inside of the play calling. But I think I didn't mean to cut you off, Tommy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But what's wild about this year is just when you consider what the Bills players are saying, when you listen to Stephon Diggs and you kind of get like into his head a little bit, and he says, he gets questions and they want him to give him information or give them information. And what he says is the plays are called. It's our job to execute them, which to me doesn't scream, we love the plays that are being called. It's more about if we had executed that play, maybe it would have worked, I don't even know where I'd land on stuff like that, because
that's funny that you say that, because this last game they're talking with Fitzpatrick and Allen before Thursday night, and Allen said that him and Dorsey still aren't on the same page. They're still working. They're still working on it.
I missed that.
He said, I wanted Dorsey because of our relationship, but the quarterback is an extension of the offensive play caller.
Yep.
He's like, and we're still working through some things so we're on the same page. Like, we're week 13 and it's a rookie guy. So think about how it was back in that Miami game. So you hear Diggs say that, then you hear Josh come back and say this in that early session with Fitz when they had the one-on-one. I'm like, that makes a ton of sense, because me and Tommy have been battling for weeks on, is it Josh or is it Dorsey?
Yes.
And Josh just came out and said they're not eye to eye on it.
That answer is yes.
But that's normal though. For not only that, listen, if you bring in a new OC, just in general, forget a rookie OC. There's going to be a little hurdles through a season. No doubt.
If it's not the OC, it's the barrier between the old system and the new system. So there's that, right? So which is the big thing about John Brown being on this football team right now, in my opinion. If you haven't been listening to my show, for those that haven't been, it's about familiarity. And I don't mean Josh Allen's familiar with John Brown. I mean John Brown knows how to get open in this offense, which Khalil Shakir can't. Gabe Davis seemingly can't. Dawson Knox can't. The only person that can get open is Stephon Diggs. Well, now you bring in John Brown. He knows how to get open in this offense, and Josh knows where he's going to be. Like, they see things the same, and that's the offensive coordinator rookie versus non-rookie thing that you're talking about.
Underrated, by the way, route runner John Brown. By the way, I gotta say,
and it's a healthy John Brown, something we haven't seen since his big breakout year, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Ed coming in along with this conversation. I'm surprised at the level of negative fan comments about the Bills, even at 9-3 in top seed this week. Yeah, listen, it's been going, and I don't know how Joe feels about this team so far, and that's what we're going to get to kind of going through this conversation. But listen, I've been saying it, and Mikey knows, since week 6 when we were, or not week 6, but we were 6-3. I was saying, listen, just chill out real quick. I know things. Listen, I'm mad. I'm upset. You know what I mean? When we do post-game live right after Joe. So when we lose, I'm heated. I get it. I'm like, and I might say some things where I'm like, and then I look back and I'm like, well, it was the heat of the moment. Maybe we're not. Let me take a look back. Let me take a step back and really look at the whole picture of what's going on with this Buffalo Bills team. Because I don't think a lot of Bills Mafia does. And I've been saying it for weeks, and now even me and Mikey have been saying it. Listen, everything that's going on, if I were to tell you that all this were to happen before the season started, Micah Hyde out for this season, right? All these injuries, right? Josh Allen not 100% now playing. He's not going to be, by the way, guys. And just everything else, all the injuries stacked up, playing 4-game separation. We had to go to Detroit, right? Back to back, like all that. And we would still be 9-3. I don't think you'd have to be out of your mind if you would say, I think our record be 9-3. I really don't think so. I don't. I think people would say, well, we had probably 5 losses, 6 losses. There's a lot that has happened, and we're still 9-3. And by the way, we're second in offense. So it's not like Ken Dorsey's doing this awful job at this.
It's just been the red zone offense that was so bad.
That is it. Clean some stuff up, which Dorsey, he knows this. Listen, Dorsey, and the one good thing I'll say about Dorsey is, at least for what Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, they brought in veteran guys to help them out, right?
Yeah.
Brady, Shula. So,
see, and Tom,
I think part of the problem that the Mafia is having is there was an expectation that the Dolphins wouldn't be this good. And there was an expectation that the Jets wouldn't be this good. So it's one thing to say, hey, beginning of the season, I'm from the future, right? So Von Miller is going to go on IR. Josh Allen's going to have a brace on his right arm for 4 games. Like they're going to lose 3 games. Poyer's going to get hurt. Micah Hyde's out, but the Bills are going to lose 5 games, and we'd all be like, well, the Dolphins suck, the Jets suck, and the Pats suck. We're still going to win the East. Who cares? And now it's more like these teams are really good, so you better get your beep together, right?
Yeah, even the Patriots defense has been surprising.
Right.
Their offense, not so much. But
by the way, the comment above the one that you put up, speaking of, or no, where did it go? Oh, that you had it up. Did you all look into the Cole Beasley coming? Yeah,
he's not coming.
Yeah.
Dude,
there's no way, right?
Spence and I are the ones that are proliferating this whole thing.
Okay, I say no. I say no way in hell.
He's not coming back, but Jay Spencer King and I on the Humpty Hotline specifically have been very outspoken about the fact that this offense misses Cole Beasley.
It does.
100%.
Not Cole Beasley, the person. So, and whatever it is that he believes, and his beliefs are his own, and he has the right to believe anything he wants to believe and work in a state that doesn't collect state income tax, which I wish I lived in a state that didn't collect state income tax because 12% is a lot of my income. Regardless of all that, they miss Cole Beasley, the player. Cole Beasley was the guy that made this offense go. And I don't care what you think about his politics, his COVID stance, or any of his crazy, irrational, whatever you think, or even if you like his rap. The dude can play football, and this offense misses Cole Beasley bad. Really bad.
He was a security blanket.
And exactly, Mikey. That's my point. So now, Josh doesn't have that security blanket. It was supposed to be Crowder. That's another name that I didn't mention, who got injured in like week 2 or week 3, whenever it was. There goes the security blanket. Isaiah McKenzie, who had this great offseason, which, by the way, I like Isaiah McKenzie, but he's more of a gadget receiver.
Yeah.
Listen, we tried it. It's not working, guys. I still like him in the game.
It was more than a security blanket. So what has happened is Cole Beasley, because of what he did, so Cole Beasley, it gets back to that familiarity thing. So for the listeners that aren't necessarily familiar, when the quarterback, when the play comes in, quarterback calls a play, they line up, they read the defense. The quarterback looks at the defense, and he in his head says, Stephon Diggs is going to run this route, and they're called choice routes. Stephon Diggs looks at the defense and goes, this is the route I'm going to run. So they telepathically have to be on the same page.
Right.
Stephon Diggs and Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen are on the same page almost always. Josh had that same relationship with Cole Beasley. When Josh looked at the defense and Cole looked at the defense, they knew exactly where Cole was going. And what that did was it brought them down out of a too high look. So they had to go single safety look. Otherwise, Cole Beasley was going to destroy them. Well, with Cole Beasley gone, everybody's going to a cover 2 shell, Tampa 2, which if you remember, if you've been a Bills fan for 10 minutes, JP Lossman had the same arm Josh Allen has, but could never win a game because
Lossman.
Because they played the Tampa 2 and we can't beat a Tampa 2. It's like, why can't you beat a Tampa 2? Throw a freaking screen pass. But so that's a lot.
No,
that's perfect. I mean, you're saying everything that we have been saying for weeks.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, when you look at it, Josh isn't trusting. And it goes back to the Hero Bowl early. Him making mistakes is because he's not trusting the guys that are out there. And he says it.
There's a lot to it. So I mean, Josh was rattled for a little bit. Like there was, I haven't heard it talked about much, and I made a comment a couple times just that there was I think it was the Jets game where he was dropping back and he was peeking at the defensive line, which is not something he always does. Normally his eyes are like he's going through his progressions. Snap of the ball, he's like looking to see who's coming, which that millisecond is all it takes for you to be late on just about everything and kind of be messed up as far as that goes in your reads and your progressions. I don't think it was a mistrust in the receivers. I think there was just I think you're right. I think he was pressing. I think he was rattled. I think there was a book on how to stop him, which was effectively bracket Diggs, put your best corner guy on Gabe Davis, and you can shut this offense down and play a cover 2 shell. And that's what teams did. The Packers did it against him. And then who's the offensive coordinator for the Jets? Oh, he's the brother of LaFleur from the Packers. You know, that conversation happened. What did you guys do? Well, this is what we did. So they did the same thing. And then that book got written. And now they're finally starting to figure out how to come out of it and how to beat that system, which is what the NFL is. The NFL is all about
chess match.
It's a chess match, right? Yeah,
100%.
Exactly.
You got coordinators on both sides of the field playing chess. It's like playing a video game, but with real life players. And if you make the wrong call, and you're not, and you get beat by the guy across the, you're done. You're smoked. So and that's why, Dable got beat a lot by that way. By the way,
best thing that can happen is this run game fires up and becomes a threat. Yes. And James Cook getting patient, the game slowing down for him, being decisive, it's going to bring defenses out of that cover 2 shell, because if it brings them out of that cover 2 shell, Nyheim
Hines in motion. One of these times they're going to give him the ball on one of those motions, and that dude is just a firecracker.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of good things on the horizon, in my opinion.
There is. The thing with Hines, listen, he hasn't practiced much because of what's been going on, right? Like, we've been barely in Buffalo.
Last week was the first time Josh has practiced since he got hurt.
That's right.
Right. So not only that, so Hines is still learning, right, which is supposedly like a crazy playbook. But either way, I like I said to Mikey, just give him some set plays that he knows and just get him in there, because we need. Listen, I think he could also go to slot. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Smoke Brown a slot. I don't know about that.
No, he's an outside guy.
I'm not sure about that, but listen, I like to see Shakir in slot, but here's the problem: he's a young guy. I don't think Dorsey trust him just yet.
I don't think it's Dorsey.
Alan,
Josh,
go back and watch L22. Shakir's problem is he doesn't block well. And he hasn't blocked well since he got here. And I'll be honest with you, Gabe Davis doesn't either. And sometimes Reggie Gilliam makes some pretty big blocking mistakes, as does Dawson Knox. But Shakir is having trouble, which is why he's probably not seeing the field as much as he maybe
he's
should.
blowing big assignments. And then I've talked about this last week,
by the way. Their blocking by the receivers have been bad. I gotta say, they seem like they're standing around a lot of the time. Now they block for Allen though, which is really odd. So they have no problem with that. But a running back coming your way, they just kind of stand. I don't understand. But you're right. Shakir's having a little tough time there. But he's a solid. He's a solid route runner from what I've seen so far.
He's a solid route runner. I think it still comes back to seeing the defense and seeing the route the way that Josh sees it. And I think Josh Allen blew up as a quarterback and made his first giant steps of progression because of Cole Beasley and John Brown, Smoke Brown, because they just understood what Dable was trying to get out of the passing concepts, and they were on the same page. Stephon Diggs was a natural, and it's mainly because it's what we heard about. When he doesn't run the route the way I want it run, we run it again. And Diggs would say, when he doesn't throw the ball the way I want it thrown, we run it again. Which I highly doubt that Khalil Shakir is that. Right. So, and it probably doesn't help either that Isaiah Hodgins went to New York because the Bills and their whatever decided that Jake Kumaro was more important as their third boundary receiver. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I don't
get that. By the way, so this guy, Tim coming in, Davis's definition of inconsistent. And then that kind of brings me to this one here, which is Chewy. OBJ, he wants to know about OBJ. So, what do you feel about the receiving group right now, Joe?
I was all out on OBJ at the beginning of the season. I didn't realize the effects that not having Cole Beasley would have on this football team. I was very much, and it's not a secret that, I'm an Isaiah Hodgins fan personally, as well as professionally. I know the man, but which, by the way, he's supposed to be on my Rapid Fire Friday program, 10 Questions with Isaiah Hodgins this weekend Friday.
Nice.
Nice.
Small plug.
Y'all heard that.
Coming out of his first NFL game with a touchdown, which he had a touchdown on Thanksgiving, but it got called back on a crappy play or on a bogus play. But I wasn't in on OBJ at the beginning of the season because I felt like the Bills had what they needed. I was firmly believing that Gabe had probably taken that next step. And now I'm at the point where they've got to bring somebody in to get them out of defenses out of a cover 2 look. And that's what OBJ effectively will do. If you put him in bounce him and Diggs in and out of the slot together. It's so funny, the slot talk, because Bills, not you two, not all of Bills Mafia, but there's a whole lot of Bills Mafia that are triggered by Cole Beasley and like can't stand the man. But we all now realize how important the slot position is. Why is that? Is it because of Cole Beasley? Maybe.
Who was a second team All-Pro,
right?
As a slot receiver
with broken ribs and a broken leg,
right? Like, think what you want about the man himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? The person, Cole Beasley, the football player, was one of the best slots in the game.
He was. It's absolutely 100%. He led the league in yards of separation all 3 years as a Buffalo Bill. So yes,
crazy. Yeah,
and he was always there. Like he always was there when a play was needed,
and he always caught the ball.
And he caught. Yeah, that's all that counted.
That's the biggest thing I've taken away this year. Is
that's kind of why
we've had.
Yeah,
that's why I was excited when Crowder came, because he was that veteran.
Yeah, agreed.
Receiver, and I was saying, man, like Josh is gonna really like this guy. He's not Cole Beasley, but damn, he's damn close.
Yeah.
And he's been there, done that. He's killed the Bills. We all know about Crowder. And just like
yards after catch, it's that yak that Crowder that brought.
But the story of the Buffalo Bills this season, injuries. Here we are today talking about OBJ. And me and Mikey talked about OBJ in the offseason. I said, listen, I'm cool with it, but let's see where we're at in November, December. How this receiving core is going to be.
Yeah.
No doubt, right? If we're clicking, hey, no big deal. It's not. But right now, clearly, it ain't happening with the receiving core we have. And of course it would help. No doubt about it. But it boils down to it boils down to what OBJ wants. Not really what of course, I'll take him, but it comes down to money. And it comes down to if OBJ wants more money to play somewhere else, or a chance to play for a potential ring. Now, here's the problem. Dallas has a chance for a ring as well. So we're kind of in Dallas has a little bit more money to spend. So I'm really thinking, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I probably long shot in it. But do you think Von Miller, and since it's his best buddy, would be willing to like do something with his contract to get that money in for OBJ? Since it's his best friend, I'm just curious because then maybe it could work, because right now we have what, 2-point-something million in cap space.
You can always free up money. You can always free up
but
money.
I'm just curious if Von would be willing, because Von has a hefty contract. Would he be willing to kind of do something?
If you listen to Joe Hayden, yes, because Von kicked Joe Hayden some cash to try to get him to come to Buffalo before he retired.
What you think, Joe? Think that's a possibility?
I think we need to get Greg Thompson on the show, because I know nothing about contracts, and even if that's even possible, that somehow they can restructure Vaughn. I know that Vaughn's numbers early are not as heavy as they are late, right? So it's more of a 3-year deal than a 6-year deal, which we all hope that he remains fresh and sticks around for 6 years. I mean, Vaughn has been an amazing addition to this football team, just as far as his ability to rush the passer, his ability to coach the other players, what he has brought as a closer. I mean, I was at the Chiefs game, his rush and his change in a rush is literally what caused that interception that Taron Johnson got that sealed the game. So I don't know. From a contract standpoint, would he be willing to? Money is money. I mean, money's there. They can figure out some way. They can figure out some way to get him more money if he wants more money. But to Avex's point, I mean, if Joe, he was willing to do it for Joe Hayden, right?
So that's why I was throwing it out there, because nobody's really talked about it.
Tom,
you know what I mean?
Could he do something this year? No. The way his contract's written, he could not restructure his contract this year. His number is super low, anyways. However, there's a thing called cash over cap. to where you can give OBJ cash up front, but his cap is super low this year, and then it gets backloaded towards the end. So there's ways to bring him in for a low cap number, high cash number.
Yeah.
And really, the cash is what's important to those players.
Thank God we got $1 billion owner, right? That moment
who's willing to write checks.
It's nice to have an owner that's in the top 10 richest owners of the league. Thank you, Kerry.
And they give them everything they need to make, because they want to bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo.
Right.
Well, we will know this week, folks. Supposedly, I mean, it's been the drama.
I mean, there's questions about if OBJ can even play this year.
Yeah, that is a rumor that's out there right now as well, that he will not be able to play and help a team this year at all.
Yeah.
Now, see if that's the case, and you got to just give him his menu and just the food menu, because I don't know.
Yeah,
depending on what he wants.
It's rumor, so you take it with a grain of salt.
I'm sure the teams know.
I trust if Bean makes the move and brings them in, I trust that they have a plan for him,
or they know that he would be playoff bound. Let's say.
He's going to be ready to play.
Very much like Von Miller at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Next guy I want to get to, Joe, is our buddy, our defensive coordinator, who also gets some heat from Bills Mafia. And I throw him some heat a little time to time, but I still think he's a great guy.
I love him, but I hate how conservative he is.
Leslie Frazier. So, Joe, what's your thoughts on Leslie Frazier as a DC right now? And what year? God, he's been here forever.
Year 6.
He's been here with McDermott since the beginning, I think. Has he not?
Yeah,
it wasn't. No, he's been here since
17.
Since 17. Right. So this is year 6. So this is year 6, because Josh has been here. This is Josh's 5th year.
Right.
Yeah. So this is his 6th year.
Wow.
I like him. I mean, it's they're playing a traditional bend but don't break defense. There's times I get frustrated and I want to pull my hair out, which little bit of hair I have left. When they're committed to playing the nickel 4-2 against Jonathan Taylor, and we never once considered coming out of the nickel 4-2. Meanwhile, he's rushing for 260 yards. And I got to argue with other content creators on Twitter about how Taron Johnson is just as good as having another big linebacker. It's like, no, he's not. And the fact of the matter is, the Bills play against Derrick Henry now, and they play against who they just played this past week. Help me out. Brain's not working. Stevenson, right? And they're playing a traditional 4-3 defense. Like they're sprinkling in a 4-3 because they realize, just as, how did I forget they played the Patriots? My mind just went blank.
It's crazy.
But they've realized the point is a 4-3 is different than a nickel 4-2, and Taron Johnson is not always as good as having Terrell Dotson on the football field, right? They also did it the week before against the Lions, against Swift and Jamal Williams. So I feel like he's teachable. I feel like he's willing to adjust. I think what's odd to me, and I get this from Fina, Fina talks about repping it in practice, right? Well, you come in with a game plan and you've done all your preparation work, and you're sticking to the nickel 4-2. It's not that easy to just jump into a 4-3. I was like, I don't understand this, because if a 4-3 defense is a 4-3, so if you've got the Jim Schwartz defense, which was a wide 9-4-3, and then it's like third and long, they go to a nickel. They just they go to a 4-2 and put an extra defensive back on the field. Like, what? How is it? So there's aspects and concepts about football that are beyond my capability of understanding. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I like Leslie Frazier. I don't know how or why he's not a head coach. I think that yet in the league, I think that he's going to get an opportunity at some point. I think his time with Sean McDermott is going to benefit him tremendously, because I don't think he's smarter than he was when he was with the Vikings, but I think he's learned a lot about culture. I think he's learned a lot about how to build a team. The Bills are a very unique team, and so I'm a church boy. I'm a former vocational pastor. I left the ministry in April, and I've read a crap ton of leadership books. And I can tell you that Sean McDermott has read the majority of the leadership books that I have read, just by the things that he chirps and the things that his players chirp. And there's something to be said for that aspect of building a team, and building a team with character. You need talent. You've got to have talent. You've got to have heart, but character is a big piece of that as well. And there's something about all of the players that I've met from this team at church, because a lot of them go to my church, there's a similar vibe in them. There's a similar thing that resonates in them, from a humility standpoint, from a hungry standpoint, from a coachability standpoint. There's just a lot of, we watched it. Like, he got here. I remember where I was sitting on the toilet when I saw the Bills have traded Sammy Watkins. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you traded Sammy Watkins? Like, what is happening? And then they traded Ronald Darby. And I was like, what is happening right now? So, I mean, there's guys that they've moved off this roster because they didn't fit the culture, which, there's people out there that argue about culture too. The culture is not a real thing and yada, yada, yada. Well, tell that to the people that were here before Greg Williams and Tom Donahoe and the people that were here after they arrived, right? Which we talked about off camera or before the show started. So I like Leslie Frazier. They play a traditional, all that to say this long-winded answer, I'm sorry. No, they play a traditional bend but don't break defense. And it's funny because we had Daryl Talley name drop on the show last week, on the Phoenix show last week, which I don't get these guests. John gets them all.
Love Daryl Talley.
Yeah. So, and I asked him, I was like, you guys played the bend but don't break defense. So as a fan, Daryl, we hear Janine talk about how crazy you get on Sunday and when the Bills are playing and you get mad and you've become a fan, and John Feen has become a fan. I was like, but having been in a bend but don't break defense, don't you watch that and be like, it's okay, it's between the 30s? And he's like, no, if we give up a stupid 30-yard play, I get pissed off because we gave up a stupid 30-yard play.
Right.
And it was like, I was like, all right, never mind then, maybe not. But at the end of the day, what happens between the 30s, I think, isn't as important as we think it is. It's what happens from the 30 to the goal line. And his defenses have traditionally, since he's been here, I mean, the numbers prove it, have been very good. Very good. So I like Leslie Frazier a lot. I don't always believe that the nickel 4-2 is the answer to every problem, but I don't think they do either. So
Ed, real quick, Mikey coming in. They seem to be the worst in third and long and fourth and long last few weeks. Listen, that's not the last few weeks, but it's like
it's the last few years.
Right? Like, well, tackling is a problem on this football team. There's times that teams are throwing, it's 3rd and 17 and teams are throwing a bubble screen and the guy's running for 19 yards because they're not tackling, right? So this has been a bad tackling foot. So that's a conversation that needs to be had. Like, why is this team not great at tackling?
It's gotten better, I will say. This season, it's still not very good.
It's not,
but great. I will say it's gotten better than
Dane Jackson is the best tackler on your football team. That's a problem.
I think Hamlin's a pretty good tackler too.
No, Hamlin slides in at ankles.
I think
he's missed a lot of bad tackles that turned into big plays.
Yes, but overall, I think Hamlin, for as young as he is, and remember, he just got the starting gig because Micah Hyde's out. So for his limited time on the field,
he's also a second-year player.
But limited time on the field. I feel like he's done a pretty damn good job. And he's he reads plays. And like you said, like there was one play he read last week and he had it. But to your point, missed tackle. But he read it. He read it great. But listen, some guys do that. Matt Milano, who I love, who doesn't miss tackles, had one previous week.
He misses a ton of tackles.
And he read it great. And I think
Milano's tough though because he misses a ton of tackles. He's also in on 90% of them.
Milano is an absolute
like his percentage of missed tackles is like 11%.
He's a stud.
But when you're in on 40 of the 50 plays, 11% is very small.
It's funny because Hamlin had the one touchdown that the Patriots had on Sunday to Jones, that screen pass. I watched it back like 7 times and I was furious when it happened. I was like, how do you just like not even engage the dude? And I felt like he's coming up, right? And the ball's coming out and he can't see where it's going to go. He's got Jones on the inside. He's got Devontae Parker on the outside. I guessed it was a 50-50 read. Clearly it's not going to the defensive back. It's going to go to Devontae Parker. And like the defensive back is going to try to block me. So I'm going to guess and go for Parker. John Fina disagreed. John felt like he was basically avoiding Jones. Like he didn't want
I just think he took a bad angle. It looked like he just took a really bad angle. He figured it was going to go to Jones. Jones would take it to the outside being a defensive player.
Yeah.
And he took a bad angle.
I thought it was but you got it. You know, for as much as same offense, defense, for as much as we criticize, sometimes it's just a good play.
Yeah.
You gotta listen, they get paid too. That guy's very fast. If you saw the play, I don't even know if it was designed initially where he went because they said
it wasn't.
It was supposed to go to the outside. He cut it back in and then went to the outside and just speed kills. I mean, Poyer couldn't catch him. It was a wrap. When he got to the outside, it was over with. But it was a good play, just like the Lions play on the interception on Allen. I mean, at first I was like, Allen, what are you doing? But that was a hell of a play. When you rewatch it, that was a really good play for that Lions defense. It really wasn't on.
So let me ask Joe this question, because Sonny makes a good point, and thank you for the super chat, Sonny.
Appreciate it.
He says the Bills control their own destiny. They need to win out on the road, so the road goes through Orchard Park. Would you be comfortable with us getting the 1 seed? The Bills tend to, after coming off the bye week, tend to come out sluggish.
But McDermott's 6-0.
But doesn't mean that we're not sluggish after the bye week.
The Bills are 6-0 coming off a bye week.
Yeah, but what are they? What are they the next?
The Bills are 6-0 coming off the bye week.
But what are they the next game after that?
I would take a bye. I would absolutely. I would take. Teams are not going to want to play. It's funny to me because, and I, son of Buffalo, I live in Buffalo right now. I live in Hamburg. I'm sitting in Lakeview right now, 15 minutes from Buffalo. I have a lot of pride for my city. I have a lot of love for my city. I have a lot of hate for my city and disdain for my city as it pertains to other things. One of the things that I can't tolerate and drives me crazy is the conversation about the weather, right? Because people think that in November to March, Buffalo becomes the ice planet Hoth.
Right.
So I can literally, if it was daylight, I could show you my backyard. We got abnormally, not normal, like American record 7 feet of snow 2 weeks ago. The grass is showing in my backyard right now. And that's what happens in Buffalo. We get a foot of snow, it melts.
Unexpected.
We get 2 feet of snow, it melts. We get 3 feet of snow, it melts. It's not that big of a deal. So there's aspects of like what people believe this city is and the weather is that drives me crazy, compounded by the fact that they're like, oh my God, it's so cold there. Our average temperature is 4 degrees cooler than Philadelphia. 4. It's colder in Detroit. It's colder in Chicago. It's colder in Boston. And oh, by the way, Cleveland is 2.5 hours down the street on the same damn lake. They have the same weather we have. Meanwhile, Buffalo. So all that to say this, right? I think what gets lost in all of this conversation is if Cleveland had more opportunity to play in the playoffs and they were traditionally a better football team, there'd be more conversation about home field advantage and being up north in the winter and stuff like that. I think the road to the Super Bowl going through Buffalo benefits us beyond just because of this mystique about, oh my God, we got to go to Buffalo and play football. I lived in Missouri for 2 years when I went to college. It's freaking cold in Missouri in the wintertime. Like it just is.
Cold.
Right? I mean, this isn't now if you're in Florida, you're having a different conversation. I lived in Florida. I remember, right? It's different, but the bye week isn't my concern. To me, give me my home field.
Okay.
Give me my home stadium. Give me my home bed. Give me like all the smoke of the Mafia. People aren't going to be selling their tickets to the opposing team fan bases in this town in the playoffs. Yeah, right. Not to mention, it's just a different vibe. Then you want to talk about good. The NFL is better when the Bills are good, and the ratings prove it. Yeah. And like playoff games in Buffalo, people want to watch that. Like because there is a mystery about it. Oh my God, they're playing in Buffalo. Like we're in freaking Ketchikan, Alaska. There's a dude in the chat from Alaska. Like it's not. Yeah. It's really not. Great. It's really not. We're 2.5 hours from Cleveland. We're 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh. We're 3 hours from Detroit. Like it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I'm in Detroit, so every time we talk about like wonder what the weather's gonna be like, I just go by what my weather. I'm like probably 35 degrees.
The one dude, Jason, just commented about Ohio. I lived in Columbus, Ohio for 13 years. I've actually got it on my phone. More times than not, it's colder in Columbus than Buffalo. So it's 41 degrees here right now. Right now in Columbus, Ohio. Wait for it to. It's got to populate. Give me a second. It's 42.
Can you imagine
it's 40
what a AFC championship?
It's 40 in Florida.
No, Michigan. I'm in
Michigan.
Detroit. Yeah.
It's like
I lived in Florida.
It's like 50 right now in California.
But my God, Buffalo, Siberia. How do you deal with it? I put my pants on and I go to work.
Yeah. Can you imagine what an AFC championship game in Buffalo would be like?
can imagine. I watched it when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
now that you got you have the season tickets sitting in that stadium.
Yeah, well, my dad went, my grandpa went, so that was when I was a kid and I was living in Florida at the time. But it would be incredible. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the 7-degree or -2-degree game against the Patriots last year, I didn't go. I had no desire to go. I was like, I'm 49, I'm good. Like, I'll pass on this one. It's a little bit chilly. But yeah, to have the AFC Championship game in Buffalo would be, I mean, it would be incredible. It would be, yeah.
I agree. Like, in a way, like, yes, like we've been bad after the bye week. I don't know what is going on now. To your point, we've won. I get
okay. It's not the first game after the bye week. It's that
it's
next
not even
game.
It's not even the first game. So here's the deal. But I will say it's a difference in the playoffs, and I'll say why. Listen, especially for this season. One, because let the other teams beat up on each other week one, or the first game of the playoffs. That's one.
Yeah.
Right? Then you gotta go. Then you gotta go to Buffalo. Which, by the way, this season we need all the rest we can get. I'm just going on this season, right? Like we need players back. Get them to rest. Chill out. Focus on who you're gonna play. I'm good with that. But the regular season, it's been weird, and I understand we were 6-0 after the bye week since Sean McDermott, but even dating back to like games that like the Dolphin game, for instance, last year,
5 field goals.
It was like sluggish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. We won, and I get that. But like, I remember doing a post game after that. I'm like, I'm happy we got to win because obviously I'm not a rah-rah guy. I can't just go like, we won. Everything's great. But I had to come on and be like, hey, listen, it wasn't pretty. Here's what I didn't like. We were like, and then we played the Jaguars.
I was in Mexico.
Whoa,
Thank God. No post-game show for me after that game. I was in Mexico drinking margaritas. It was great.
I did a post-game and Bills Mafia was free.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I'm like, they're like, it's over. Fire McDermott. And I'm like, whoa.
Dude, why is that where everybody goes? Why is it always fire McDermott? Fire Leslie Frazier.
It's the prisoner of the moment aspect that the fandoms have.
Yeah.
It is. Now, you know what? Speaking of McDermott, it's a great question because I actually had it written down. Okay. And I'm going to throw this out here. And I'm going to tell all of Bills Mafia, this is not what I'm thinking. This is a question, hypothetically. And I asked this to Mikey before. I actually asked this last season. Okay. So, Sean McDermott, honestly, awesome coach. Without Brandon Beane, without Sean McDermott, without this coaching staff that he built around, obviously, we would still be in the drought years, guys. These are just facts. I'm telling you, unless he found this great coach and GM to come, we were terrible. I lived through the years. I know a lot of Bills Mafia are new or maybe just came 2017 or 2018, so they really don't know how bad it was and how many coaches and GMs and players and bad drafts and bad free agents and just a mess that we would live through. And when Sean McDermott got here, I'll be honest, I was the first to say, who the hell's this guy? Right? Because I was so tired of losing. And they all give you the same. They go to the press conference. They give you the same, we want good guys.
Unless you're Rex Ryan.
Right. It's always the same. Right. Rex Ryan, a little different. He was we're going to get over the playoff. But everybody else.
Is this microphone on? If it's not on, it's about to be.
Right. We're going playoffs, baby. Anyways, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Who the hell is this guy? And boom, we got to the playoffs. 27. I couldn't believe it. Now, mind you, not the greatest team.
I think it was in the. I'll let you continue. I think it was in the land of. I don't know who this guy is, and I don't care anymore. I bought a Shane Falco jersey. At that point in time, I was wearing a Shane. I have it in my closet. I was wearing a Shane Falco jersey to Bills games. Legitimately, that's what I was wearing to Bills games. Go ahead, continue, please.
That's exactly, dude. I'm telling him, like, and I remember my friends, like, he's a Dolphin fan. He's like, oh, you guys suck. McDermott, who the hell's this guy? I'm like, I don't know, bro. He's from Carolina, and
he's really from Philly, but okay.
Yeah, well, but I mean, he came from Carolina, so I'm like, and then we got Bean midway through that draft. So the draft ended, and we got Bean after the draft. So we fired Wiley like right after the draft.
The day after.
Whaley, I'm sorry, Whaley.
Yeah. Have you heard that story? Have you heard that story? The draft is over. Everybody show up to work at 8:00. Like, bring a box.
Not you, buddy, though. So I'm like, what is going on in Buffalo? We fire our GM right after the draft. It makes no sense. I thought
that couldn't have surprised you if you read any of the tea leaves. Everyone knew they were out the door the second
but
that draft ended.
It's so Buffalo. And I'm like, and then boom, I couldn't believe it. Now, listen, it wasn't the greatest season. I think we were 9-7 that year. But either way, you saw a change. You saw Bean come in, do his thing. I'm like, okay. But my point is, now we're year 6 into McDermott era. If we don't win a Super Bowl this season, how long does it go on until the players and Bills Mafia, just fans in general, say this guy just can't get us to the promised land? We need a change. I'm just curious, like,
before you answer that, Joe, he didn't ask the question the way he asked me. He asked me the question of, after last year's 13 seconds debacle, and it was a coaching issue.
I was there.
Yes, after the 13 seconds debacle.
Coaching, by the way.
If it doesn't get better, you'll see some immediate benefits. It's going to be one of those things of, how long do you stick with him?
Yeah, which is the same thing I'm asking now. I'm just curious, like, because listen, trust the process was this whole thing, and that's the gimmick that we all bought into, and I still buy into trust the process. I get it, but how long?
Ask yourself how well that has worked out for other teams. Marty Schottenheimer can't get us over the hump. Fire his ass.
Right.
It took him until Andy Reid, to get no, you don't, and no, the Eagles. Andy Reid can't get us over the hump. Fire his ass. He goes to the Chiefs, wins a bunch of Super Bowls. Or they won one. Sorry, but you know what I'm saying.
But they've been really good ever since he got there.
But my point is I don't know that idea works. Like, there's quarterbacks, there's head coaches to get fired. I don't know how. For me, let's just win football games, right? I mean, it's when you get to the playoffs, it's one and done. It's a different world, and I don't know. It's funny. I've said it on my show. It had to be 2020 when I was still with Fanatics. I often would say that, wins during the season, as much as wins aren't a quarterback stat, wins are attributed to quarterbacks during the season. Wins are attributed to coaches in the playoffs, right? And I don't think that's true either. I don't think there's an aspect of, like, if wins aren't a quarterback stat during the regular season, I don't think wins are a head coach stat in the playoffs. Like, I don't think the Bills lost Super Bowls because of Marv Levy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like having that conversation. So if the Bills had gone to a 5th Super Bowl and lost, are we firing Marv Levy? Well, he just can't get us there. Let's start this whole thing over again. Right. That sounds bad to me, because we started over. Yeah. We started over with Greg Williams. We started over with Mike Mularkey. We started over with Dick Duran. We started over, right? I mean, it's on and on. Why the hell would you want to start over? Like, let's keep this.
I agree.
Put a statue up of the man right now.
I agree somewhat with it. I just wonder how, because I know obviously locker room, guys, how much they eventually go, hey, we need to change. I'm just curious. And that's the only reason I asked. It's not just about fan base. Yeah. It's more like, okay, man, we've been here. This is like our 7th year now, right? Because and we have a guys, Raleigh Towel Sports, by the way, who come on Wednesday nights. They made a great point with what was their old coach for Cincinnati, Mikey?
Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis, who was a good coach, got into the playoffs, but could never get him.
But he never won. He never won a playoff game.
He couldn't get him over that hump.
He couldn't get him over a single playoff game. Sean McDermott's won playoff games.
Couldn't get to the playoffs even, and then when he did, it was late, and he lost. Like, late in his career, he lost.
Right.
But what's funny about that is Zach Taylor looked like an absolute joke his first season in Cincinnati, and now it's like, oh, he's actually kind of a pretty.
He was borderline getting fired last year until they got hot and they went on that Super Bowl run.
Yeah,
right, for sure. When it comes to McDermott and it comes to that whole conversation of, starting over and letting him go, so much of that is the quarterback coach relationship. And I think that Takeo Spikes came to Buffalo because Bills fans understood football, right? And he recognized when he was here, like, people were shouting out for me. They knew I was a free agent, and they told me how badly they wanted me to be here. And I was blown away by the fact that, like, the fans of another team knew who I was and knew how good I was. So I wanted to come to Buffalo. So he comes here, and Takeo Spikes was amazing, right? He was a phenomenal football player. But at the same time, Bills Mafia is dumb. Like, there's a segment of Bills Mafia that believes that Sean McDermott walks into Leslie Frazier's office. Hey, Leslie, just want you to know Christian Benford's not playing today. And it's like, no, Sean McDermott does not walk into the defensive coordinator's like office and tell him who's sitting. Like the coordinators decide, and even the position coaches decide who the inactives are. I mean, Josh Allen is on record as saying in his third season, McDermott said, "Here are the keys to the car. This is your team, son. Drive it." Like McDermott doesn't get in Allen's ear and like, yeah, that I don't want you throwing 15-yard outs anymore, because the couple times you've thrown them, like, he doesn't do that. That's not what his job is. So I think sometimes we get kind of lost in this concept of what McDermott's job is. He's the head coach. He's the CEO. His job is to make sure that the team functions. But at the end of the day, he's relying on Leslie Frazier. He's relying on Ken Dorsey. He's relying on the assistant coaches and everybody else, and he's letting them do their jobs. Like he does. I think it's the president. Like we get freaking caught. If you're on Twitter, and you two are, we get caught up in this idea that somehow the president of the United States determines my day-to-day life. The president has nothing to do with you know who does? The governor of your state. Think about the person you're voting for governor, because that person affects your life. The president doesn't.
Yeah.
That's how Sean McDermott is.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I'll agree with you with that. Like I'm
gonna change my name to I'm gonna change my name to Rants for Days. I got Rants for Days.
You know what's funny?
And you know what? I will listen to that podcast, Joe. To listen to you rant, I will listen all day long, brother.
I actually have a segment on a Saturday show called Rant of the Week, right? And it's just whoever wants to do a rant does it right at the end, and they just go on. They can say whatever they want. That's you need to imply that in one of your shows. Just a rant of the week, and I'm just gonna. There
you go.
There you go.
You're right. But no, listen. I agree. I tell everybody too, man. You gotta thank God for Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott. Like this whole coaching staff has worked out great. Like honestly, like everybody is on the same page. And I said this a million times. It all starts from the top, right? So you got an owner, you got the GM, you got the coaching staff, you got the players. But if they all don't link together like a chain, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how great the coach is. If he doesn't see eye to eye with the GM, it's a wrap, Jack.
Oh, yeah. Or the quarterback. The head coach quarterback is important as well.
It all needs the players, the coaches, the GM, the owner. They all got to link, and it doesn't happen a lot.
And that's literally what's happening. That's what's happening in Miami. And they talked about it on the broadcast. For whatever reason, that team is bought into Mike McDaniel and what he's doing. And like whatever the concepts are, as awkward as he is, as weird as he is, as nerdy as he is, that room of jocks is bought into that nerd. Same thing with Dan Campbell. Right, yes. Dan Campbell, like, how can you not be a fan of the Lions right now?
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm from Detroit, by the way. Yeah, and I said that. When they got, listen, Dan Campbell, I remember when he was interim at Miami, because I was in Miami at the time.
I couldn't believe they didn't hire him.
And I said, man, this guy, like, man, the players are buying into him. Like in Miami, this is Miami. And I said, he's a little hype. I get it. But man, when he came to Detroit, it wasn't like the other coach that just left us back at Patricia, who was all bullshit talk and whatever. The players didn't buy a single word. And they didn't play for him. They didn't believe in him. And that's exactly what he
rode a four-wheeler on the field. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Like
he has a pencil behind his ear.
Hid behind the Gatorade pop shop.
You know, you want to know what's crazy? That Miami let Campbell walk out the door and they hired Adam Gase. Who was the bright mind behind that one?
Have you? Well, you probably have Apex. My Adam Gase story. I was at a Bills game. My season tickets are row 1 of the upper deck, 313, seats 18 and 19. So I'm on the visitor sideline. The Bills are playing the Jets. It's Adam Gase's last year. The Jets are in Buffalo. I'm pretty sure this was the year he got fired. And like when the offense is on the field, he's roaming the sidelines just like a head coach does, right? That's what a head coach. When the defense was on the sideline, he was like 4 or 5 people back, like not even paying attention to the football game. I'm like, what is happening right? And he wasn't like coaching people up. He was just like walking around back there, like kicking rocks. And I was like,
he was a weird dude, man.
Like, what is happening right now? Like, you're the head coach of the football team.
I remember, boy, speaking of coaches, Dick Geron, great, nice guy, but didn't say a word.
Well, we punted it well.
He
Yeah, we
was
did.
he had no
There's a reason why
emotion.
Greg Mormon made the Pro Bowl every year.
Right.
He
right.
had
Mormon.
zero emotion
Oh God.
for a head coach. I mean, he was as dull. I mean, the team probably was like, God, he's gonna get home. But yeah, Dick Jauron was one of the nice guy, but not a head coach, not a leader. Put it that way.
They should get him a Bills jersey, induct him into the Buffalo Hall of Fame, and on the back it just should be 7 and 9, like 7-9.
Yeah,
right, because that's Dick Jauron. Like, thank God. And you guys want to fire McDermott, not you guys.
No,
people want to fire him.
Yeah.
Like Dick Jauron is the possible alternative. Like.
And McDermott will be on the street for all of 2 seconds before he is hired by somebody else.
Yeah, they will fire somebody to hire him.
Yes,
sure. Yes,
it ain't happening. So these next 5 games, Joe, what do you want to see from the Buffalo Bills? As far as
they got to run the table. They literally, in my opinion, have to run the table. The Chiefs have a very easy schedule. The Bengals are coming as much as like we're all Bengals fan this weekend, and like everything, the stars aligned perfectly. Like everybody that needed to lose lost, and the Bills go from 5th to 1st. The end of the day, the Bengals are a problem. The Chiefs are a problem. Like the Dolphins aren't going anywhere. So the Dolphins have a tougher schedule than the Bengals and the Chiefs, but the Bills got to win out. And the good news is they've shown over the last 2 years that they have the propensity to do so. They've got the ability to catch fire at the end of the season and do what they need to do to kind of get there. But yes, I will also say caveat, as much as we talked about home field advantage, this football team on the road doesn't bother me much. They do pretty good on the road. They're a pretty good road football team, right? And they have traditionally been a good. So playing in the playoffs, even if it's in Kansas City, I think they're kind of
played there enough, by the way.
Right. I think they're over the Kansas City mystique that it's like, yeah, you know what? It's just another football game. So
right. And they know the field way. They know the fans. They know the noise. They've been in that locker room.
Yeah, they got to win out. In my
so get this: if the Bills win out, the number 2 seed Kansas City they beat. The number 3 seed would be the Ravens. They beat. The number 4 seed is the Bengals, which they would have beat. Number 5 seed is the Dolphins, which they will have beat. Yep. The 6, the Titans, which they've beat. The 7 is the Jets, which they have beaten.
Yep.
This year, if they went out, they have beaten. They have beaten every team that's sitting in to go into the playoffs. The only team really that is on the bubble that they wouldn't have beaten is the Chargers.
Yep.
And then playing right,
and the Chargers might not make the playoffs.
Although
they're coming on strong too. So
even though they just took a really bad L last weekend against the Raiders,
they play the Dolphins this weekend coming up. It's going to be an interesting game.
I'd like to see the Chargers get back on track and beat the Dolphins.
I think they thumped the Dolphins.
I think it's a close game.
I think that Zeppelin's coming down to earth, like the Dolphin Zeppelin. Like
I hope so. I mean, their Zeppelin went really high, but they played 5 really bad teams.
Well, that's the difference. Like last year, and even in 2020, it's like, oh, but the Bills' like strength of schedule sucks. All the teams they've beaten are garbage, and they've lost to every team they've played that's winning. Not this year. Like to your point, Mike, every team they are playing are good football teams, and they're beating
very
them.
Good.
Yeah,
very good. And that's why I continue to say, guys, we're 9-3. Like
fire McDermott. How long are we gonna deal with this? Fire that guy.
And do you remember last year, Joe, at somewhat close to this point, what was our record? 7-6.
Yeah.
And I remember having the same conversation when we lost against the Buccaneers, and I said, "Whoa, hold on."
Was that game?
We actually played a really good second half. There could be a bright spot there, and boom, we went on a roll.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like after losing to the Vikings, we kind of are starting to slowly get back on track. I don't think we're all there yet, but I will say the last game we played against the Patriots was the first game I can kind of say in a little while that I felt like it was a team, overall good team win on all sides of the ball. Like everybody kind of did their job. It wasn't a pretty game, but it wasn't supposed to be.
No, it wasn't flashy.
It was planned. That was a plan to get time possession, run the ball, and just get back in the flow of things. Not only that, I keep telling people, listen, Josh Allen ain't 100% right now. Yeah. And he won't be, but he can get a little healthier if we limit his throws a little bit. And I kind of see that trend. I'm not saying it will stay that way, but I kind of see like Dorsey involving the run a little bit more, getting less throws for Allen. And then I have a feeling they're going to hike it up in the playoffs. Like you're going to go see back Josh Allen throwing high attempts. Now it's the run game still may be there. I'm hoping, but I could see Allen definitely playing a different level.
We'll see if that receiver core connects with him better by that time.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yep. We will. And listen, by the way, if OBJ comes, then it's a game. What do you think about Von Miller, by the way? You think he's coming back? I think he is.
Jersey for life, first of all. So I have a future Hall of Famer that is on the Buffalo Bills, like Terrell Owens. You can't go wrong with a Terrell Owens jersey, like Bills jersey. You can wear it forever because he's in the Hall of Fame. So I got a Von Miller jersey. It's got my last name on the back of it. So what do I think of Von? Do I think he's coming back? I don't know. I just had meniscus surgery. It's very clear that he has decided to have it repaired, and a repair is completely different than having it cut out. Just because for a professional athlete, even college athletes, if they have a tear and they have it cut out, they're playing again in 2 weeks because their knee and their leg, their quads are so strong. Repair is a different story altogether. So it was obvious early on in the way he was speaking, he was going to have it repaired, whether now or later. For him to say, I'll be back for the Jets game, and 2 days later for Bean to be like, no, you won't. I was like, what's happening right now? So, which also put in doubt to me the whole OBJ thing, because he's been so like, no, OBJ is coming to Buffalo. And I'm like, are you sure? Because so I don't know.
You told me you were playing at a game in 2 weeks, and,
right.
But you know what? That goes back to, and me and Tommy were talking about this. We wanted the front office or the coaches to protect the players from themselves. Like I didn't want Josh to play that first game because he will try to play through it. I'm like, sometimes you're gonna have to protect him from himself, because when he gets on the football field, he just can't help himself. He's a competitor.
Yeah. I think the Bills are erring too far on the side of that caution. There's guys that have sat this year that it's like they probably could have played. But
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I agree
unless
with
it's
that.
Josh Allen.
Right, but we also haven't been given, neither is the national media. I mean, talking about Josh Allen falling off a cliff. It's like he's got, like, I have screenshots, check my Twitter, of him. He has a brace, I don't think he did this weekend or this past game. He's had a brace on his right arm. Try throwing a football with a brace in your arm.
He's number 2 in the league in passing. What the hell do you mean he's falling off of a cliff?
Well, but he's also got a brace on his arm. It's like when you, so it's the final Patrick Peterson interception in the Vikings game. So like when I watched that play back, if you check Twitter, if you check the receipts, I literally was one of the first people, and I checked it with a couple different people that I trust. I was like, Josh Allen makes this throw. Like Gabe Davis is open.
I said the same thing.
He underthrew the ball by 6 or 7 yards.
If he throws it to the back of the end zone, he's wide open.
And then it's like, well, what happened on that play? And like clearly he's got an arm brace on, and it's a 30-yard pass or whatever. And then like there were people in my mentions, it's like, that's an impossible throw. I'm like, we've seen the dude make that throw. He made it flip the field to Kumaro. Kumaro's only touchdown as a Bill in Denver. Same throw. And then he did it to get Davis against the Packers in the preseason last year.
He did it to Diggs against Detroit.
Right. He's got that throw all day long.
45-yard throw.
So in Allen's head, he's like, I got this throw. And then the arm brace is like, no, you don't. And he throws it 7 yards short. And Patrick Peterson looks like a genius. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's whatever. Okay, fine.
Yeah, I agree too. I keep telling people the same thing. Like, not only that, that he's changing like his mechanics a little bit because of the pain. Like, I'm sure he is. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure the brace
can't drop his elbow.
Brace is making him change. If anything.
Has to. Yeah.
And if you look at some of the throws he's doing now compared to earlier in the season, a lot of them are a little bit off. A little bit to the outside, a little bit low. Like they're not crisp like they were in the early. And that, listen, guys, all we can hope for is he was a little better heading into the playoffs. Like
I agree with you, but I think some of that is his uncertainty that the receiver is going to be where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that is
because
true.
There's a lot. He's got a couple interceptions where it's like, oh, that was a horrible decision. It's like, not if the dude turned the right direction.
Yeah. And some that he got lucky with. James Cook went the opposite. Was that an interception? I think actually the James Cook one, right? When he went
it bounced. Almost an interception.
Right? Yeah. Should have been.
The one he tried to dirt a ball against the Packers, and like the guy Jair Alexander just made it. It was Alexander, right? Just made a great catch. Like there's it's I think it's all being overhyped, but it's the roller coaster. And Von Miller said, "Don't ride the roller coaster." And boy, it's been a roller coaster this year. So
So before we get out of here,
go ahead.
Don't listen to Nick Wright. I'm listening. I'm looking in the chat. The guy does it for clicks. Like they were on a conversation about Burrow and Mahomes, and he brought up Josh Allen just to get clicks. Don't listen to the guy.
So Nick Wright is famous for saying that you can't trust Josh Allen. Josh Allen is an all-world talent. Like, he's got the best arm in football, but you just can't trust him. Meanwhile, his quarterback last year in the AFC Championship game, overtime, almost throws an interception, throws an interception. It's like,
right.
Maybe you should look in the mirror, bro.
He's one of the only guy I even somewhat national media that I'm like, all right, is Colin Cowherd. And that's just me personally. I think he's somewhat respectable in what he says, and I kind of am on the same page. But
Jim
even
Rome, for me,
it's Jim Rome a little bit, but I still think he's a little bit like for the clicks. I think Cowherd's a little bit more like, you know,
Rome
a little bit more accurate in what he's saying. Of course, he's a little bit out there, but that's what they're on TV.
Rome was the first sports guy I ever listened to, so I was a young
on FM radio, on AM radio.
GR when he was on GR. So Rome was the first sports dude, like the real sports talk I ever listened to, and I liked Jim Rome, bang the monkey and all that kind of stuff, which was cool. I think you don't need to look any further than Emmanuel Acho, right now. Acho,
yeah.
Because what I mean by that is all of them do it. So none of them, and this year, I know we're trying to end the show. This year has been the holy crap. These guys really don't watch football. Right? This has been the year because the Bills get lauded as the Super Bowl favorites. Josh Allen, the MVP favorite. Like, the Bills are a freight train, right? Peter Schrager, like everybody talks about. And like, we watch these games and the Bills squeak out a win, and like they come on these shows, these post-game shows, and they're like, oh, the Bills dominate the whoever, blah 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 blah. Like, no, they didn't. Like, that was not a good football game at all. And like they're just reading whatever's on the teleprompter. And I say that going back to Emmanuel Acho, he is literally blowing with the wind. It's just so ridiculously obvious that, like, here I'm ranting again. It's just so ridiculously obvious that, like, it's you can't even track him because, like, 1 minute, Tua is the best quarterback in football and he's doing things that no other quarterback can do. And the next minute, it's Jimmy Garoppolo, the best quarterback in football, and he's doing things that no other quarterback can do. And the next, you know what I'm saying? Like, and all that does is open you up to realize that, like, all of them are like that. They're just not as obvious as Emmanuel Acho. He is just like, I don't know how anybody even follows that guy. It's like, I've called him out and he's responded to me on stuff. It's like, bro, stop. Like, you're bad at this. Like, just stop.
Right. Chris Sims is one I like now because he keeps it very calm, cool, and collected. I don't always agree with his take, but at least he has a rationale behind it and he watches the games.
Agreed. I agree with
that. He does. He does film study.
Like, he actually watches the freaking game.
He does.
You know, I don't always agree with him. On
Cowherd does too, though. Cowherd watches games. He knows.
Cowherd can waffle, though. Cowherd can waffle.
He does.
He waffles with the best.
I would just have way more respect and I love Kyle Brandt, and we all love Good Morning Football, and it took me a while to connect to Jamie Erdahl and Jason McCourty, but like, I would much more prefer to see the Bills win ugly and have them go, well, they didn't play good in this football game, but they came out with a W. That's all that matters. So it's like, thank you. Yes, that's exactly.
You know who's not bad either? I forgot. Rich Eisen.
No,
I don't mind Rich Eisen.
Yep.
I like Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen
good.
Really
seems
good.
like a pretty good dude too. Steve Lynn coming in real quick. I didn't touch base on this. Gabe Davis, third behind on the page. What's going on with Gabe? You think it's that ankle injury? Or he's just not. Something's not going on with him.
Gabe Davis,
alligator arms it.
Well, Gabe Davis is a product of the fact that, you know, Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley aren't on this football team anymore. I mean, at the end of the day, Gabe Davis was having the luxury of getting the third corner, right? Or he was the forgotten guy on an elite list of wide receivers. Cole Beasley was elite. Right. So I know you don't like him, but Cole Beasley was elite. We'll just drive that nail in one more time.
Go ahead.
Cole Beasley was elite. So I think it was just an aspect of, like, he ran some great routes in that Kansas City game, and I was there, and the moment was huge, and he deserved it. Right. And I love him for it. But at the end of the day, I think that this offense needs something else for him to be effective. It's freaking Dawson Knox. Why is Dawson Knox on a milk carton? Like, what is going on?
Glad that you brung him up. I forgot about him. So Mikey and me agrees that it seems like they're using him more in the blocking scheme of kind of things. And I guess we didn't even touch base on this, but the offensive line. So I guess we could do a 2-1-1 here for Knox and the offensive line. So the offensive line's not been very good. Do you agree with that, Joe?
It depends. I mean, it depends.
It's hit and miss.
What's it?
Injuries too.
It's hit and miss.
Hit and miss. I think said it ends in 10 minutes. I'm like, are they all dying? No.
It's hit and miss with the Bills offensive line. Sometimes they look freaking great, and sometimes you're like, what the hell are they doing?
But it's so this is the luxury of getting to do a show every week with John Fina. So it's a measure of multiple. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. So whether it's Josh Allen dropping 12 yards when he's only supposed to drop 8, right? Fina and I were arguing about that today. Or if it's because they're not passing off guys correctly. Reggie Gilliam is supposed to take a guy and he misses, or Khalil Shakir misses, or Gabe Davis misses. There's a lot going on there. Injuries obviously play a factor. Coaching plays a factor when it's like, hey, I know that Ryan guy over there, Ryan Rick Bates, is supposed to be the backup center, and we didn't play him for 2 years just in case Mitch Morse got hurt. But now that he's like playing guard, he's really good. So we're gonna have this Van Roten guy play center, and like we're gonna lose a football game because of it. But it's okay. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this whole, like it's not just one thing, in my opinion. So there's a million things going on when it comes to the offensive line. And Josh wants to be off structure. That's who Josh is. And he talked about it in that Chris Sims interview. He's like, look, they gave me the keys to the car and said, score points and go be yourself, right? Just go do what you do, what got you here. And Josh wants to do that stuff. He doesn't want to be in the pocket. And that is a problem, believe it or not, because literally, John Finism, as a left tackle and a right tackle, you are coached and you are game planned that I am to push him 9 to 10 yards back. So when he's rushing me, I'm blocking, and riding him down the line till he's 10 yards back. If the quarterback's at 11, guess what's about to happen?
Sack.
And guess whose fault it is?
Josh's.
Josh. Meanwhile, they're like, my God, Deion Dawkins sucks. And it's like, it's not Deion's fault.
And you can see when he does that, and he doesn't do it as much as he used to do it, to where he falls back too deep. Because remember, he used to run backwards, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Right.
Stop doing that.
So I don't know. The good news for me in the offensive line is they're figuring out what they want to do in the run game, and there's something to this Cook Naheem Hines set that really gave the New England Patriots fits. And Devin Singletary can make a guy miss in a phone booth. He's just not fast. He's not explosive. Cook is showing flashes of being that guy. Like, and then so there's, to me, the run game. But again, that comes down to scheme too. It's like, who does this team want to be? They want to play wide 9 or wide zone. Meanwhile, they're a pin and pull offensive line. Like, there's a great deal of like, this is what we want to do. We can't do that. I don't care. This is what we want to do.
And then at the end of the year, they're like, fuck, okay, fine. I'll go ahead and run the pin and pull. And then we get going.
Yes.
Right.
That's exactly what happens.
Because we did it last year. And we did it the year before that.
And we actually did. I thought we were okay. And then this year, not. And then against the Patriots game,
we run between the stupid zone.
We run between the tackles and it works.
Right.
It hasn't worked all year.
Yeah, but if you rewatch that game, I don't know if you guys have NFL Plus. Watch the all 22 and watch the patience and the decisions by James Cook. And I mean, Singletary has it. He just doesn't have that burst. But he's been ripping off some decent long runs. But Cook has been in that game against the Patriots. It was almost a coming out party for Cook. It wasn't, because he didn't have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's coming. I'm telling you, that game is coming for him before the end of the season. But there was a lot to watch in that game from James Cook where you're like, oh, okay.
I'm calling that game
agree.
the Bears game. I think he's going to go for 102 touchdowns in that Bears game.
Might happen.
Yeah. So what I like about James Cook right now is he seems like the game's finally slowing down for him.
Yeah,
kind of felt like I kind of felt like in the beginning it was a little too fast, how they say.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like now, to Joe's point, like he's being patient. He's waiting for his blocks and he's hitting it.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference between, and I love Singletary, by the way, I'm a Singletary guy.
You can't talk about anybody that comes out of Florida. Can never talk bad about them.
Don't you talk about Dorsey.
He was just talking bad about Gabe Davis.
That's true. No, but I like.
He usually defends Gabe Davis.
I do. I actually, I don't hate Gabe Davis. So let me tell you something.
I don't hate Gabe Davis either.
I think Gabe Davis, a couple things this season's going wrong with him. One, to your point, he doesn't have that opportunity where he's a third guy now. He's a second guy. So he's getting a lot more pressure on him. Teams now know who he is, right? They know what he did against Kansas City. They know what can happen. But to be fair, he did it this year a couple games where he broke out and he was a second receiver, right? He did against Pittsburgh. Right. He was another game he did before he got hurt. So the inconsistent thing is starting to show, but I also feel like the ankle may still have a little bit of play with it. He's
had the same ankle injury for 3 years now.
Exactly. But exactly. But I've had ankle injury. I know, and that can affect your play and a lot. And I'm not using that all as an excuse. But I do believe Gabe Davis.
These cleats are weird. Yeah. Like, these are such weird cleats somewhere.
Change your damn cleats and the glove. By the way, the gloves too. Can we change our gloves? Because we do.
The funny thing is the clap conversation has come up.
That is weird.
And it's like, did you watch the AFC Championship or the playoff game last year against the Chiefs, the divisional game? Because he clapped on all 4 of those touchdowns. All 4 of them.
Yeah, but 3 of the 4. There was nobody around him. He was just running by himself.
True.
Yeah, but that was because he shook the shit out of his defender who fell.
Also true.
So you can't get that open.
We can sit here and debate Gabe Davis but
back to James Cook. So the only thing I would say for him, and I think you'll see that as the seasons go, he needs to gain a little bit more weight, especially in his lower body. And that will benefit him, like, because that's one thing Singletary has. He could bounce off a guy easily and gain another couple yards. James Cook right now, I don't know if he's not big below.
He's so like better at that,
but he is.
But I still need Dalvin. Dalvin's not big below.
No, but I still think he's a little lean. That was like his knock in Georgia, and he didn't have a lot. To be honest with you, he didn't have a lot of carries in Georgia.
No, he was 14. He had 14 touches was the most he had in college twice. He had 14 twice. He had 20 this weekend. He had 20.
Right. So this is a learning curve too, as far as getting the ball more and and he's in the NFL where he's going against guys that are electric and fast. Right. Totally different than college. So, but I like what I've seen from him the last, I would say, 3-4 games. You could see the improvement. Like he hasn't. Now I will say his passing, even that got a little better last week, but the week before you could see he was a little bit off with Josh. They didn't have they weren't on the same page.
Right.
But once he gets on the same page with Josh will definitely throw the ball to him more. Same with Hines, by the way. I will say I see Hines open last week and even the week before more than once, like 3 or 4 times, wide open. And Josh just doesn't trust him enough yet, or maybe just not on the same
Knox
page,
the same way.
Maybe.
Knox has been wide open too, and Josh just doesn't throw it to him.
But Knox, I think he threw it to him last year.
Last year, but this year, though, he threw him one pass last Thursday, and he dropped it.
Brady just did Brady thing. 16 seconds left in the game. He drives the field to take the lead. Oh,
did he do it?
Yeah.
Did he finally slay the beast?
But there's a flag. There's a flag. Hang on. Sorry, totally sidebar. Holding on the offense.
Oh no! Joe breaking it down.
And he threw the freaking tight end seam too. The freaking Bill killer tight end seam pass that the Bills
did that Gronk seam.
It was a good throw, by the way. It was a very good throw. Right in the back. Right in
the chat hanging with us. Holding, offensive holding.
Hey, but they still have an opportunity.
What a throw! Yeah. What a freaking Tom!
It was
Brady
a very
throw.
Good throw, but that's Tom Brady for you.
Yeah, freaking Tom Brady.
45, by the way.
Yeah,
I can barely
younger than me. He's a pup. He's a pup.
Yeah. Walk my
45,
dog.
Here we go. 16 seconds left in the game.
Here we go. It's Joe. Joe's going to call the play by play.
First and goal. So we got 12 seconds left.
Let's hear Joe's
I'm more of a color guy.
Come on, Joe. Do the color.
I'm more of a color guy.
Do the color.
Me and you both, brother.
Todd Bowles is
like that.
Todd Bowles is an awful head coach. So Todd Bowles is proof that head coaching matters, by the way.
Yes,
so as much as
right.
we give the head coach too much credit, Todd Bowles is proof.
Both of these head coaches are awful.
So the question you got to ask yourself right now is why are they snapping the ball with 20 seconds left on the play clock? So we got out. So 8 seconds left, right? Like I don't understand why they're rushing. Like there's no point in it. The Bills do this all the time too. It's like, hey, you want to run the clock out here,
right?
So. And then there's times where
we do some very frustrating things, by the way, with clock management.
And then there's time where it's like find a rhythm, like snap the ball within after 10, and they don't do it. They're like running down to 2 seconds. It's like, yeah, this isn't working for you guys. But
yeah, and they also have timeouts.
Yeah, 8 seconds left in the game. 16-10. The Red Rocket is rubbing his beard like this. So this is my Andy Dalton impression right now.
Here you go, guys.
I still can't figure out why he's starting over Jameis.
From the 6, because he's better. Jameis Winston's awful. Yes, come on.
Too many mistakes. He actually has talent.
That's sad if this version of Andy Dalton's better than you.
It's a bad vision, bad decision making.
He's steady, right? I mean, Andy Dalton doesn't Andy Dalton.
I would take him as a backup all day.
Doesn't he get a little bit of a? He gets too much blame. If you're not supposed to give the quarterback all the props, you can't give the quarterback all the blame either. Yeah, Bruce Arians is in the crowd.
For all you Lossman haters out there, right?
Right. Yeah. That dude could throw a football. Like dude,
I have a Lossman jersey, so hate all you.
Yeah. Sometimes you buy a house.
You mean the quarterback coach for Clemson?
Yes.
That's right, baby.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, he did it again. Touchdown.
Wow.
To the rookie White.
He did it again.
You see that, folks?
Now you have to make the extra point.
Tom,
and that is not a give me anymore in today's NFL.
You are right.
I just appreciate the fact that Andy Dalton, much like me, has gray in his beard. So
I'm all gray in my beard now.
Tom, terrific. Is this the show that never ends? Like, what did I sign on for? It's the show that never ends.
Yes, this is a Tommy show.
This is a 24/7 live show. No, guys, we gotta go. I wanted to end it with a tear. I didn't want Tom winning, but he won. But anyways, guys,
not yet. He hasn't. And...
Oh, you're right. You're right. Here we go.
Oh, there's a flag. We're not leaving until this game's over.
Okay, you know what? Fine. We're gonna now. We stuck around this long. We're staying.
The question is, are they going to go to a 3-minute commercial after this field goal or after this extra point is made? So if that happens, we might be out. So,
Does Monday night give them those big hats like Thursday night that they made Josh?
That's funny. I love the big hat. Have you seen the one with the big hat where it's got the divisional standings on it? No. And the Bills are at the top? It's freaking awesome.
I saw the Four Loco one.
I need to look for that meme.
Somebody put Four Loco that he's doing advertising now.
The extra point is good. Unsportsmanlike conduct. So apparently they jumped over the center. So
game over.
They tried
All right, Joe, thank you so much for joining this marathon of a show.
How long do your shows like? Is this normal?
Honestly,
no. This is a little long. This is a little longer.
I was kidding. I was kidding. I knew that.
So normally, normally it depends, but we run an hour and a half too. We've done almost 3 hour shows depending on the topic, but no, normally hour and a half. About 2 hours. No, we haven't done a 2 hour in a while, but we haven't.
Like the last few we've done about an hour 15. It depends on how far Tommy goes down.
Fucking out of here.
Yeah, we have people that leave us all the time. Tommy goes down rabbit holes at times, and depending on how far he goes down is how long the show goes.
I sink down, and Mikey's like,
That's funny. That's funny.
All right, guys. We appreciate everybody for coming on. We appreciate Joe Miller for coming on. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, obviously, to Buffalo Rumblings, go ahead and subscribe. He is Drew Bledsoe on his goddamn podcast. But, hey, I got Joe Miller, even better. So I'm just saying. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Go Bills. Bills Mafia number one.
Bills.
Go Bills.
I will play my outro.
And look at it go! He could go all the way! Touchdown! 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 The Bills make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout. Throw your head back and shout. Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, 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 hey. Let's go, Buffalo! Let's go, Buffalo!
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Peace out, guys.